Hello everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, joined here once more by Bwipo. How are you doing after the very first win after 5 games? Relieved?
It's more like we can win. It's a confirmation that we can win. I don't think we should be too happy about beating Rogue specifically. I don't think they're okay. They are the worst team as of now, together with us. So yeah. It's something.
Here's the good news. Right now you're 9th place, but there will be a team joining you, I think, in... actually, is that going to be 100% correct? Oh, no, actually, because, yeah, Origin and Excel could theoretically win. So maybe you're still 9th place at the end of the day, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this stage, I think what's most important is that we get our own wins. Because, going for first or second place is unlikely. Yeah. I think we'd have to win every single game, which was possible, probably not going to happen. We're still looking towards playoffs. It's just a matter of finding our formula, I think, because right now we're kind of just doing our thing. In this game, you saw it, right? Like, they make a play on mid, we try to answer it, fails, but then our bot lane just picks up a kill and starts snowballing for bot side. So we just decided to just go bot and just play around the fact that we have summoner's advantage there and all that good stuff. So, it's a reminiscent of back when, 2018 really, where instead of us falling behind, that would randomly happen. So randomly someone would start winning and we're like, all right, let's just drive it home from there. Which is one of our strengths really, because no matter who eventually got ahead, some way, somehow our mid or bot laner would get ahead. And I feel like we're still good at that. But the problem is those openings aren't coming as often. And I feel like that's partly because of our work ethic and we're not spending as many hours as we did in 2018 into the game. Which obviously, per day, per week. Which is obviously something we're really forcing ourselves, not forcing ourselves, but we're super motivated to build up that work ethic again, Jesus. Because you had 2018, you had a whole year, right? So the whole year you get to build up every week of what works for you. And then after the crushing defeat, because it really was against Invictus, you take a pretty long break after that, right? You have to just realize and rethink if we get smashed this hard, what we were doing, was it actually successful, or were we just better than other teams? Because that's the ultimate question that you asked yourselves, or we asked ourselves in Fnatic, right? And a lot of the times we would just say look, this is a draft where this and this lane loses and this jungle is winning. But if they don't actually exploit that, we're going to win the game almost always.
But it's the failure of the other team rather than you guys.
Exactly. And I think that's honestly one of the identities Fnatic had, and why people called us on our bad drafts when we did lose, because honestly most of our drafts were aimed towards that idea. Don't punish us and you lose at 25 minutes. And I think that's something that we still have a tendency to draft, and then when we fuck up level 1 or whatever.
Last 2 weeks have been rough.
The last 2 weeks is basically what happened, something invade would go wrong or anything would go wrong in the early game and it would just be absolutely devastating. And it's not the only reason, right? We could come back in some of these games. In fact, we even had the lead in the second game against SK and threw it. But even against Vitality, I think we were advantaged at some point, just purely because of comp. We got to a stage where our comp would beat theirs in 5v5 and they were just terrible execution. Woof, Jesus. That said, I think that type of idea, is a formula that's not working as well for us this year, partly because snowballing is much more effective. I think, for example, 5-manning down a turret doesn't work. It actually doesn't. The game has new measures to stop that from happening. So just throwing all your cooldowns at one lane doesn't really work anymore. So you have to play more consistent across the board and then be more consistent on where you're attacking the lanes. And that's something that is both good and bad for us, because I think we're trying to find how exactly we can support Nemesis in the mid lane, and honestly how we're playing around top, because what people don't really take into account is, yes, I've been on the roster for a whole year, but you have to count I was splitting time with Soaz pretty much the entire year.
And then you played bot lane for quite a while.
So from the top lane perspective, right, I didn't really actually get to mesh a whole year with the team. Not a full year, as in I'm always playing with the team. It's more in and out, sometimes playing a different role, different stuff. So in that sense, I feel like we still have much to learn how to play around me and what I like doing on top of that.
Now, the game against Rogue, quite frankly, it was really, really even. 20th minute mark, it was literally 33.3k for both teams. Straight up even. So, you know, when you go up against Rogue, who were also 0-4, and you go to the 20th minute mark as Fnatic, and at least the goal is completely even, is that still like a bit worrisome for your perspective, from a fan's perspective, or why shouldn't be fans worried about that?
I think it was a pretty volatile mid-lane matchup that they decided to pick. I feel like, honestly, if I went mid or whatever, if I had priority or anything different happened in this game, the opposite could have happened really easy in the mid lane. But the fact that we weren't bleeding after the enemy top laner TP's mid, dies, and falls a full level behind, then gets towered off on a lane swap. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I messed up on that TP, for sure. I misjudged whether or not I could be there. So just one leveled up on the play. And that was what really rode it home for me. And pretty much put a kill on my head. But that's also like, you know, like if you're a top laner and you get that much of an advantage on the enemy top laner, I still had influence on the game, I think. Not much, but I was there. But I feel like I inted kind of hard, and the fact that despite inting, they couldn't do anything showcases that they're not very good. Like, you know what I mean? I get that their bot lane was bleeding just as much, but that was also mostly 2v2.
Yeah.
So is it a worrisome trend for us? As long as I don't bleed out as much, I'm actually pretty confident that our bot lane can do that against any lane, because they're still two really good players. Just because last week was not pretty doesn't mean that they can't do that, right? And I feel like it's very matchup specific, whether or not they can pull that off. But here they got a pretty comfortable matchup, I feel, for them. I think they were happy about what they were playing, and they executed really well, and they carried their asses, like, hands down. Yeah, it was a pretty simple game for me, you know. Like, I was kind of feeding, and my team carried me, and I was just like, this is what I remember. You know, my team feed, if I feed, it doesn't matter because Martin carries my ass. So, unfortunately, not as often as in the past, but
it's still possible. It's still there. The fire is
that
still
was basically spring. Like, that was spring split for me. It's like, if I feed, it's fine because Martin's gonna carry me. And then in summer split, I was bot laning myself, so I couldn't feed anymore.
Right. Fair. Change of pace there. Yeah, especially on the last team fight, it kind of felt like Reckless just had a goon squad around him, and everyone was protecting him. Protect Mr. President.
Yeah. The call was to peel, right? At the end, I actually had to think whether or not I should fear beyond death one of the kills for the Penta. I actually held my R. I really wanted to, but I was like, whatever. But yeah, all in all, the game felt like old. Like, it felt like a stage game where it's like, eventually we can't lose anymore. Right. And that's, I feel like, one of the strengths Reckless has above everybody else, and I feel like that's one element of Fnatic's gameplay that wasn't implemented in the first 2 weeks because we were too far behind, I feel, and also picking the Lucian, which is not a champion that necessarily does that. But I feel like, you know, even at Worlds, Invictus Gaming banned Sivir and Tristana because it has that hallmark on it. If the game isn't lost by X minute, then we will win. Yeah, he makes almost no mistakes in team fights. You know, it's very rare that he does, and that's what kind of makes like Fnatic, I feel. And I feel like that element being gone is why most people were like, you know, like, is it really, you know, can we rely on this team? Because that reliability that we all put on him and the expectation really was still there, but it quite didn't happen because we just played too poorly as a team. So I feel like as long as we can give him that security, you know, that we will get him there, he'll give us the wins.
That's a very also interesting to look at psychologically. Speaking of that, was there kind of a breaking point for the team after going 0-4?
Yeah. I think coaching staff talked to everyone individually, and we realized that everyone was a problem. Like I said, rebuilding the work ethic was a big deal, because I think that, you know, what I did last year to get good, you know, get to that World Finals was something I had to reconsider completely, because once I did get there, we just flopped. So you have to reconsider, is what we were doing, was it actually the right thing? You know, like, did we actually do that right? And if you're aiming for another World Finals, do you want to spend another year doing that, hoping most of the teams you play against just aren't good enough to punish you for you know, it's like just putting your balls on the table and giving them a knife, you know, and if they're going to chop them off, like, you're doomed. But if they don't, you have control. Yeah, you have control. Like, it's that simple, you know, like, you just put all your cards on the table and you go all in, you know, and then it's like, all right, either you win right now on this hand or it's over. We'll win the next 15, you know, like something like that. I don't know how to describe it, but that's how I felt, you know, in the past. And it worked. It really did. until it didn't.
But
That's like the sad thing. Because MSI was the same thing, right? MSI was the exact same thing. Where you just go for it, and it works until we hit RNG, and then it's like, wait a minute, these guys kind of win team fights against us. They can out team fight us.
They have Galaxy Brain on warding and all that kind of stuff.
I mean,
Cockmalting where
no, that was just troll. That was troll. I was really troll.
Okay.
Because we were actually, I still remember, because I was calling that I wanted the base because I had core item on base, and I would one-shot everyone, because they had no Amari yet, and I was 6 item Vladimir. So I was like, if you just let me base, I'm gonna one-shot everyone with my flash. The idea actually was that Cho'Gath was dead, so even if they spotted us in the bush, we would just fight them, we would just hard engage on them. Because it was 5v4 still. Yeah. But it took too long. It took too long. Yeah, it took too long to turn, and then he TP'd, and then we didn't turn, and then it was really lost.
That was hard India for sure. But hey, happens. But okay, so from a fan's perspective, it sounds like to me you guys essentially went okay, right, we flopped hard against IG. We don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, we do.
So I mean, nobody wants to see that, Yeah. But at least not from Europe. But so you then went okay, we need to reassess kind of everything. We need to reassess the entire year and the process that went there. Now, for a Fnatic fan, for example, there are probably Fnatic fans that go, I'd much rather just have Fnatic win both their splits, do well at MSI, semifinals, finals, and then get to semifinals at Worlds, and that's that. But that's not the attitude you guys have.
I mean, honestly, it's an attitude that, if you had the choice, of course you would take winning the split twice again. That's just having a really good year, right? Mm-hmm. 2018 was a really good year for Fnatic all around, not just because of World Finals. Yeah. So, I don't want to say we should make a decision or it's as simple as that. It's just more like I said, the fundamental of relying on certain aspects of your gameplay. That's not really your aspect of gameplay, but more how good are these guys actually, and how good are we at defending those weaknesses? Because of course, not everyone could do it. I think the only other team in the world that was really good at it and got far doing it was RNG.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
There were also a team like this where they would really just clamp the early game with scaling picks and just they would first pick Ornn, for example, in a plethora of bad matchups, but they wouldn't care because they would just clamp on the game and just do nothing until it's over. It's too hard to play. And
G2 punished them for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the meta. And I think with platings it got even worse, where solo lanes just you can actually get dunked in a solo lane now and be 1k gold behind, not even dying once. Dropping a wave and basing is much more it can punish you way harder, mm-hmm. but it can also be better. It's difficult depending on how hard the matchup is and how good you are, how good the matchup is or how bad it is, because sometimes you can lose 4 platings and then the guy's 700 gold up on you almost, and you're just what the hell, my matchup is just really hard and this is happening, and then the enemy jungler is there, or the enemy jungler comes and hit your turret. And the thing is, his first turret right now is actually, I believe it's 400 plus 210, so it's 610 gold, I'm pretty sure. Because you get 150 for the bonus, it's 300 for the turret and 160, right? So the last plate is 610 gold. So if you take it on your own and you're 610 gold up on someone, that's a lot of gold, bro. That's a big spike, especially considering you have to get the other platings as well, right? So if you just take a turret off someone, you have 1,200 gold on someone.
Jesus Christ, yeah, that's pretty insane.
And that's before 14 minutes. So the reason why is because their solo lanes were bleeding, and they couldn't push through the bot lane like they usually did. At least something like that happened, I'm not sure. I didn't really analyze any of the games from G2, but to get back to the point, I don't think I was not happy with just clamping the early game and waiting for the enemy team to show us whether they're actually better or not. In the same vein, you pick that kind of comp and you mess up early game, your game also ends really fast.
Yeah.
Which is the main reason why we never actually had the balls to pick an early game comp like that on stage. Because when we played it in scrims, we would win maybe 10 of them in a row, or there was a time where we won 22 games in a row playing early game only, which was the week leading up to me playing my first stage game, actually. Because we had a really good early game on stage. I remember that was because it was really practiced. And it went bad once. And it was just
all the confidence gone?
Not confidence, it was just is it worth it?
Oh, okay.
Because you can drop a game to a worse team than you doing this, right? But you can never lose to a worse team than you drafting the way we drafted most of the year.
Fair. Yeah.
That was the mentality behind Fnatic 2018. That was the idea. Like, you can never lose to a worse team, but if the team is better, you're at a disadvantage. The question is how can you make that up? And we found our ways.
Individual.
And at Worlds, honestly, we felt like a lot of teams had the chance to be better than us. Fortunately, only one team felt that way to us, which was the team that beat us. But even in group stage against Invictus Gaming, we ended up drafting like that, and it worked out, which is why we had the confidence to do it in the World Finals and say it was going to it was going to actually pay off. It didn't. Spoiler alert.
I think we've all seen that one. But okay, so is this like the rebuilding phase? Because in football, you occasionally have like rebuilding years. When Manchester United really failed, and then fire the coach, fire all those players, get rid of that. Rechange the club, get in new players, get in a new coach, rebuild for a year, and then next year, is that the plan behind Fnatic right now? No, it's still win everything and.
Well, obviously we still want to win everything.
Right.
If you have 4 out of 5 players that are the same, you don't expect this bad of a start.
But here we are.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But I feel like the meta change plus the fact that we can't really draft like that anymore because, honestly, we didn't put enough hours in individually as we used to. Like, I think that we used to put an insane amount of hours individually.
What hours are we talking about here?
Solo queue hours, just solo queue hours.
In general, like straight up numbers?
Yeah, like everyone would play like 70, 80, 90 games a week, like whilst on their scrim schedule. And it was just like grind. And that kind of individual, like that's what made our talent flourish, right? That's what made this lineup so strong, is because even if you had a bad matchup, you grinded so hard that you'd play and you'd play and make it work. And that's something that's what I mean with building the work ethic up from the ground up, right? Is like finding ways to squeeze that in and do other things as well.
Yeah, IG group stage was a different deal.
No, I mean, like in group stage, I remember, it was the Ornn versus Aurelia, which was considered to be a really bad matchup because of the armor shred. And if Aurelia Qs the champion, she shows up behind him. So if Ornn ever W'd, you would never get the mark on her. So it was considered to be bad. But the thing is, I dodged the ult, right? It was that sidestep, and I was like, whoa, and then I realized that, what? If I died there, I probably would have died just as many times playing Urgot.
But you didn't get punished, and so you didn't take it
Exactly. I didn't get punished. I never realized how disgusting Gragas Aurelia is. Because it's really disgusting. Because I felt like there was actually no counterplay to it. Because even if my jungler comes and counter ganks, the thing what happened was that Aurelia would jump on me, and Gragas would just walk in melee range of me with Predator. I couldn't escape him. And then it would just wait until I'm dead. And then he would just burst me with body slam or his ult. And then I realized that even if my jungler was there, he would just body slam and kill us both. And I was just like, what the hell? This is so disgusting. Like, as I'm playing World Finals, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what do I do against this? It's so disgusting.
Yeah, feels bad.
So I don't know if they were sandbagging in group stage, and that's what led me to never know, but holy moly. Predator junglers, I have a running meme now in our team where I'm just like, okay, if the enemy picks a Predator jungler against Urgot, you start the game 0-1 or 0-2, depending if the enemy jungler wants you to or not. Because I just feel like the champion just runs in melee range of you and then just kills you. And there's like nothing you can do to it. I shouldn't, this is top secret, right? It's really not. It's pretty obvious. Urgot does not have much counterplay to Predator, but it's a running meme, and I think it's pretty funny, because every time they lock in Predator Gragas and I have Urgot, because obviously Urgot is still one of the highest priority picks, right? So you have it quite often. Basically every other blue side game, right? Every time lock in Gragas Predator, I'm like, Broxa, this guy comes stop a Predator, I can't promise anything, bro. Might have to start the game 0-1 here. He's like, Jesus Christ.
Just play the violin on the sinking Titanic. That is top line. Anyway, so not a rebuilding process. The spirit is still there, but the mentality needs to catch up.
Just refine the roots, right? Get back to the roots. Get back on the grind. We have been seriously grinding for the past week, for sure. I think the first 2 weeks was also just people getting back to the lifestyle, back on the grind. Because after a defeat like that, honestly, I don't blame anyone for not really playing in the off-season, because I didn't really either. I played 200 games or something in the off-season, which is not that much over 2 months.
Especially if you're playing 90 games a week before. So
exactly, it's a really big difference. Yeah. I think 70 was an estimate, I think, honestly, for our team. 60 or 70 was actually a rough estimate of what our team was playing. So that's a lot of games.
Yeah, that's less than half then. And
that's 10 a day. Yeah. That's actually almost 10 a day. That's 9 to 10 a day. And
plus scrims.
Exactly. And then obviously you're watching as well, and you live the game basically. You eat and breathe it.
Do you regret any of it?
No, I just think that like we were so focused on certain aspects of the game. Like for example, I was being trained so much on being able to hold certain matchups off that you just didn't put focus on what was actually important, or at least I feel like is actually important, because like we would not be able to play certain champions into others, like early game champions. We'd not be able to execute that because we're so used to playing the opposite side. Right, and in the opposite side, we're so good at not dying or not losing that this is what you're supposed to do. This is what your team needs you to do. Especially for me, playing both bot and top lane.
Yeah.
All my job was not even not die. Just don't fall so far behind that you're useless. Just be useful. Be there. You know, be a driving force in the team when it comes to initiating from top lane usually, and from bot lane just free up hilly. That's my only job. And then if this is your only job, it's pretty easy, right? As a player, you're just like, okay, let's just do this and this, and then the rest doesn't matter. The rest gets taken care of. And I feel like I train so much on those aspects that taking the game by force myself is something that I've lost a bit of. How do I put it? It's not as crisp, you know. It's not like I'm not as crisp in taking over a game as I used to be.
I really wish we would have said, you know, but we lost the focus on the thing that's most important. Friendship.
No, we're pretty good friends.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear still. Anything you want to say to the Fnatic fans? You have 30 seconds. I'm counting the timer now.
What do I actually say?
I don't know. Thank them for still supporting you guys after going 0-4.
We won 0-4 or 5 if you want to. And yeah, it's pretty devastating. I think we took it harder than you did, no offense. I mean, we actually did. It was pretty devastating. We fixed a lot of the issues, but honestly, this does not redeem us. I think the next 2 weeks will, whether or not we win or not, depending, will actually redeem the future for Fnatic.
You play against us tomorrow. Thoughts?
Perfect opportunity to win a game.
That's perfect. A hashtag for the people that watch until the end. We're like at 25 minutes at this point, or like 22 when everything's good.
Hashtag baguette.
Hashtag baguette. I like it. Thank you, Bwipo, for your time. Make sure to follow Bwipo on Twitter. And this was Darius from the Shotcaller. I mean, people are going to be so happy about this one. Another Bwipo interview, 25 minutes almost. Thank you so much. See you guys then. Bye-bye. We'd especially like to thank Krzysztof Buchnevich, Etienne, Thomas Göttel, Dominik Bolze, Lazy Raven, Erich Althaus, and Macic for your support, and of course all the other people whose names you see scrolling past you on the screen right now. Without you, our work wouldn't be possible. Thank you.